What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today we're going to be talking about Latrell Sprewell and his unfortunate departure from the NBA. And we're going to jump right into the video. Now, the correct way for us to start this video off is to talk about the solid career of Latrell Sprewell. He was drafted in 1992 by the Golden State Warriors with the 24th overall pick. And looking back at that draft class all these years later, the Golden State Warriors definitely got themselves a steal. When we take into account skill set and his production, Latrell Sprewell definitely should have went higher than the 24th overall pick. And what makes him so special as a basketball player, and the first thing that jumps out to me, is his elite athleticism. And when I say elite, I mean elite. He had a very quick first step that allowed him to blow right past anyone. He was very powerful, and then he had some extreme bunnies. And looking at his offensive game, one thing he excelled at was getting to the rim, finishing with the left hand, right hand through contact. He could get up and punch it on you. And Latrell Sprewell used to dunk that ball so hard, man. Two hands, one hand. You would have thought that the rim had stole something from him. And then also he had the mid-range game as well. And he was just a solid scorer. And a lot of people thought Latrell Sprewell was even better on the defensive side of the ball. He had great lateral quickness. He played intense defense, and he locked up a lot of the best perimeter players in the 90s. So he's a very talented guy. He had the skill set, and he also had the production. His very first season in the NBA, his rookie year, he put up 15 points per game to go along with 4 assists and 4 rebounds. He also made the All-NBA rookie team, and after his rookie season, he never had a year where he averaged below 16 points per game, besides his very last year in the NBA, where he only put up 13 points per game. Also, Latrell Sprewell, he has put up 20 plus points per game 3 times in his NBA career, and the most he's ever averaged in an NBA season is 24 points per game, and that was in the 1996-97 season with the Golden State Warriors. He has also made an All-NBA team and an All-Defensive team. Those both came in the 1993 season, and he is a 4-time All-Star. So Latrell Sprewell has had a very solid NBA career, and all of that happened in just 13 NBA seasons. Now on the outside, everything was going great for Latrell Sprewell as far as his physical ability, but on the inside, things were not so good. He was battling with a mental disability. He had anger issues, and this played a huge role in his NBA career. It was 1993 when it first came to light that Latrell Sprewell was dealing with some anger issues, and he had a hard time controlling his anger. In 1993, during a day at practice, he got into a fight with one of his teammates, Brian Houston. And I wouldn't say that it's uncommon for teammates to get into fights during practice, especially when you're competing for minutes, you're trying to prove your worth to the franchise. Tempers can get flared, and guys can let their emotions get the best of them, and they might get into a fight, and they work it all out afterwards. But 2 years later, in 1995, Latrell Sprewell got into another fight at practice with a different teammate, and this time it was Jerome Kersey. And Latrell Sprewell, he was losing this fight, and that didn't make him too happy. It only made him more angry. So he decided to go get a huge block of lumber, and he tried to attack Jerome Kersey with this block of lumber, but thankfully teammates were able to break the fight up before he could do so. But that only made Latrell Sprewell angrier, and after that he threatened to bring a gun to practice. So things were getting pretty crazy, pretty violent in his career. But what he did 2 years later was probably the craziest thing that's happened in Latrell Sprewell's career. in 1997, and yes, you guessed it, this altercation also happened during practice, and this time it was with his head coach, PJ Carlesimo. And on this day, Coach Carlesimo felt like Latrell Sprewell was not putting in enough effort, telling him that he needed to put some more mustard on his passes. And then Latrell Sprewell basically goes on to say that he's not trying to hear any of that today. And his teammates also told Coach Carlesimo just to leave Latrell Sprewell alone today. But Coach just kept going on, and then he decided to approach Latrell Sprewell, which ended up being a huge mistake. When he approached him, Latrell Sprewell went on to put his hands around Carlesimo's neck, dragging him to the ground and choking him for about 10 seconds. And then after that, his teammates were able to break everything up. And they say Latrell Sprewell left practice for about 20 minutes. And then 20 minutes later, he came back and punched Coach Carlesimo in the face. Now, Latrell Sprewell said that that part wasn't true, but nonetheless, choking and putting your hands on your coach, that is crazy. And I'm pretty sure that's the only time that's ever happened in NBA history. And it took a huge toll on Latrell Sprewell's career. And I just want to say, I think it's so crazy that Latrell Sprewell went from being called the next Michael Jordan to becoming the villain of the NBA. And it all happened so quickly, and his actions had severe consequences. His first punishment after the choking incident came from the Golden State Warriors, and initially it seemed like they were just giving him a slap on the wrist. They gave him a 10-game suspension, but then 2 days later, they decided to terminate his contract. And this was a pretty good deal at the time. It was a 4-year contract worth $32 million, and the deal still had 3 years and $25 million remaining. And then on top of that, NBA commissioner at the time, David Stern, went on to suspend him for 1 year. Sprewell did fight the suspension, and he got it reduced to 68 games. But while he was suspended, he got into some trouble with the law. He was speeding, going 90 miles per hour, got into a car accident and injured 2 people. And this led to him being on house arrest for about 3 months. With all of the drama, the altercations, and the punishments, you would think that Latrell Sprewell would be on his way out of the league, but he had one more shot at redemption. In the year 1999, he was traded from the Golden State Warriors, and he went to the New York Knicks. He had to make the most of this opportunity, and that's exactly what he did. Now, this was a very weird NBA season. There was a lockout this year, so there was only 50 games. Latrell Sprewell played in 37 of these games, and he came off the bench for the New York Knicks. Now, he had a very solid season, putting up 16 points per game to go along with 4 rebounds and 3 assists. And he also played a huge role in helping the New York Knicks get to the playoffs. They finished as the 8th seed with a record of 27-23. And after that, he would lead them on one of the most historical playoff runs in NBA history. They started it off by pulling up the upset against the Miami Heat, winning that series 3-2, and then they will go on to sweep the Atlanta Hawks. And then in the conference finals, they would beat the Indiana Pacers 4-2. And unfortunately, their luck ran out against the San Antonio Spurs, as they would lose that series 4-1. But Latrell Sprewell did not go down without a fight. He averaged 26 points per game in that series, and he led the playoffs in total points scored. He had 407. So it was a solid run by Latrell Sprewell. Actually, it was a great run, and he showed the world exactly what he was capable of. Latrell would play 4 more seasons with the New York Knicks, and then he was traded once again. This time it was to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this was one of the more fun teams to watch in the NBA at the time. They had Kevin Garnett, Sam Cassell, and then Latrell Sprewell, and these guys would be the highest scoring trio in the league. His first year there, they had a record of 58-24. They went on a solid playoff run, making it all the way to the conference finals, but they fell short to the Los Angeles Lakers, and we know them boys had Shaq and Kobe, and they were very tough to beat at the time. Now, what happens next will be the ultimate downfall of Latrell Sprewell's career. On October 31st, 2004, he was offered a contract extension by the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was a 3-year deal worth $21 million, which is a very solid contract. But Latrell Sprewell's response to that was that he has a family to feed, and that's not enough money for him. And obviously, the Timberwolves were not willing to pay him more than $21 million over those 3 years. And by the time he was in the last year of his current deal, Latrell Sprewell had the worst year of his NBA career. He went on to average a career low 13 points per game, which isn't bad at all. But after that season, no team in the NBA was willing to offer him no more than the league minimum, and Latrell Sprewell still felt like he was too good to be playing for that amount of money, which resulted in him never playing in the NBA again. So there you guys have it. That is how Latrell Sprewell ended up out of the NBA, and he basically kicked himself out. He let his greed get the best of him, and it's just so sad to see because he had so much talent and so much skill, but he had the anger issues, and it led to so many different antics and so many altercations, and it just took a huge toll on his life and his NBA career. But that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Let me know what you think about this whole thing down in the comment section, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.